Hi there, it's Becky Roesler. I have Becky's Journals on Instagram and on YouTube. On Facebook, I'm under Rebecca Roesler, Roesler, in parentheses, Becky Roesler. And today I'm going to show you step 2 of the 9 steps I take in making a journal from scratch. If some of you have seen it, you first recall the first step is make yourself a cover. And in this case, I'm using a Reader's Digest journal that I have reinforced the original spine and covered it with fabric and Tyvek. And I do have a video on how I do that if you'd like to see it. It's in my art tips and tutorials playlist, if you want to look at my playlist. This is one of the 14 Reader's Digest journals that I'm currently working on. I have got all the covers done and I'm starting to work on the signatures. That's my second step in my process of making a journal from scratch. So this cover is ready for the signatures to be sewn in. Now, some people sew their signatures in after they're all fully decorated, especially if they do any sewing on the pages. They do all the sewing before they, machine sewing on their pages before they sew them into the spine or make a hidden spine for their journal. This one, I went ahead and decorated the front the way that I want it ultimately. It's kind of got a boho feel to it. So I am going to show you the papers that I collected. But I have a formula that I'm going to share with you today that explains this. And this is my formula for the types of papers and the number of the types of papers, of each type of paper that I put into every signature. Now, for those who are beginners, a signature is just a group of pages stacked together, folded in half, and then assembled together to make like a little booklet, and that's called a signature. And the signatures are sewn individually into your book. Here's the journal that I'm working on today. And I have sewn in the signatures and I'm starting to add interactive elements. So this is a signature right there. This book block that I have sewn in. Each of these Reader's Digest journals I'm making with an 1.5 inch spine and 2 signatures. So today I have gathered for this particular book cover. Now I match all my signatures and papers that I use to the book cover, so it gives a kind of a cohesive look to my journals, which I enjoy. Some people don't care for a cohesive look, but so be it. And I do, and so I'm going to spread these papers out, then I'll explain what I've got. But if you spread them out like this, you'll see that all the pages that I'm using in this journal are they're neutral, greens, blues, or white or off-white. See there? That's my color palette. And it's what is going to go with the original journal cover. So it gives it a cohesive look. So this way, if you use a limited palette, just a few colors that go well together, you don't have to have a particular theme. You just have a color balanced look to it. And that's the way I do it. Yeah, it's not the only way to do it, but it's the way I do it and the way I like to do it. And since I like to use a lot of color in my journal, it works well for me. So I'm going to go through and tell you my formula, and I hope that it helps you. I've got all these pages cut to size so they will fit inside my journal when they're all stacked together and sewn in. And I've rounded the corners of every page, and then I will have to go through and finish. A lot of the pages don't have anything on the back like this scrapbook paper doesn't have anything on the back, so I will have to do some kind of inking treatment or collage or something to cover up this white, because I'm not going to leave that white. It's going to have to be measured up, colored up for me. So I'll just go through and show you some of the papers. Well, first let me tell you what my formula is. The formula is, and I will post a picture of this in Facebook and on Instagram with the photo to go with this video, so you can grab a copy of it off of Instagram or Facebook if you want a copy, or you can just write it down. I'll read it to you. All the papers that I'm telling you that I'm using in this formula are the full unfolded papers all the way out. Full unfolded papers that have been cut to fit inside the cover. Okay? So my formula is I use 2 to 3 full uncut neutral patterns. And here is an example of the types of papers that I use for neutral patterns. I've got them stacked up according to type, but just different types of, this is from a coloring book, this is from children's homework books. I've got some embroidery patterns, I've got some vintage sheet music, I've got some book pages there, and I've got some graph paper, and I've got some just plain manila paper. So that's what I'm calling neutral. It's all white or off-white pages. So I use 2 to 3 neutral patterns. I use 1 to 2 coffee table book pages. And that's those big, mostly photography pages, you know, out of great big coffee table books. I use those a lot of times for the center of a signature. So 1 to 2 of those, 2 to 3 scrapbook papers. And there you can see my scrapbook papers are blue and green there, those. 2 to 3 per signature scrapbook papers. 2 to 3 hand dyed or coffee stained. And in this case, I didn't have any blue coffee stained paper, so this one I had to double up. If you don't have, say if you don't have much or any coffee stained paper, you just use more of the other pages. Okay, 1 to 2 solid textured, and when I'm saying solid textured, I'm talking about the heavier art weight papers. This is pastel paper, and if you look real close, it's got kind of a rough texture to it. But it could be any kind of texture paper. It could be paper that you have embossed. You know, it could be any kind. So 1 to 2 solid that has been some kind of texture on it, and then I always have a cardstock for the cover of each signature. And in this case, since my inside of this book has this metallic gold and white, I'm using cardstock from the same paper pad as this metallic gold and white for the signature covers. And that way, when I sew it in, it'll be cohesive. So I've got my 2, and this I've got 10 pages. I've got 2 of the cardstock covers, so I'm doubling this. So for each signature, you need 1 cardstock cover, okay? And I'm having 2 signatures, so I've got 2 cardstock covers. I've got 2 pages from a coffee table book. This has happened. Instead of a coffee table book, I'm using an old calendar. These will be for the center of each. So I've got one for each signature. I've got let's see. Carry my neutrals here. I need 4 since I'm having, I need at least 4. But I've got more because, remember, I'm out of coffee dyed. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know how I ended up with an odd number, but I'll probably end up doing just 6 of these. Let's see. Yep. Oh, actually it's 6. So I've got 3 of the neutral patterns, 3 neutral patterns to go in each signature. This is the textured. This is heavy drawing paper, very heavy art paper that I got out of a paper pad. It's for pastel. I used to be a pastel artist. And I've got 1 for each signature in different colors. Here I've got 2 instead of coffee dyed or hand dyed, I've got some paper that I got in a pad that was 8.5 by 11, and I'm going to use that instead of coffee dyed, sort of a tie-dyed looking paper. And then I've got all my, well, I've got another one that I guess this would be considered like a coffee table book. This one came from a really large atlas. And then I've got my scrapbook paper. And I've got 6 sheets. So I'll have 3 sheets of scrapbook paper in each signature. And I'll mix them up. I'll have green and blue, you know, scrapbook paper in each one. I won't put all the green in one signature and all the blue. Although you could. It's just that I like it more mixed up looking. I think it looks better when it's not just one big solid block of one color. Okay, and then of course all the scrapbook paper, I'll have to go in and decorate the insides. Okay, so 2 to 3 neutral patterns, 1 to 2 coffee table book pages that I usually use for the centers, 2 to 3 scrapbook patterns, 2 to 3 hand dyed or coffee dyed, 1 to 2 solid with some kind of texture on it, and then the cardstock cover, and that's it. Here is example of what all that looks like when it's sewn in. This is an example of what the back of a scrapbook paper page, and I have inked it and stamped it. This is right here. This is a page that I covered with tissue. This is from a napkin that I had, and I covered it with tissue. So I collaged the tissue on there. Scrapbook paper, I inked and stamped. This is light pink, is hand dyed. Maybe come out. This is more scrapbook paper that I've inked and stamped. There's one of my neutrals. Here's hand dyed pink. By the way, this one is not for sale yet. This one is what I'm currently enjoying working on. I've just started putting the interactive elements like belly bands and pockets and things like that in it. And I just sewed it together last night, and I'm loving working on it. I'm not going to stop, so no, you can't have it. And I know this is the only journal that I had of all the 14 Reader's Digest. This is the only one that had any kind of pink that I could make it pink. So here is an example of where on the back of the cardstock that was white, I collaged tissue paper, just pieces of tissue paper on it. This is hand dyed. This is fully inked and then stamped. This is more of that light pink dyed paper. See, I mix my neutrals. I mix the colors and the neutrals in, so there's not just solid wall of color. It's mixed up so it doesn't overwhelm you when you look at it. There's the back of the scrapbook paper where I inked the whole back and then I stenciled it. See the stencil there. And on this one, I went ahead and I inked all the edges of every page and rounded the corners of every page. Inked and stamped on white papers, hand dyed paper. Excuse me. More inked and stamped, more hand dyed paper, the back of that tissue. Okay, so you got a peek. Oh, and look how the cover turned out. I just love it. I did that last night, and oh, I just love it. And so it's mine. It's mine. I love it. I hope this helps you get yourself started on putting these books together. Once you've done it a few times, you will be so sad that you waited so long to do it, because it is so much fun. Come see me. Leave a comment. Let me know you were here. I love to hear from you. Also, I really appreciate your thumbs up, giving this video a thumbs up if it helped you, and subscribing to my channel. Thanks a whole lot. Bye-bye.